Good evening. I am Manaswini from Group 9, and I will be talking to you about the industry analysis of the lithium ion battery. Before we move forward, why don't we dive into the history of the lithium ion battery? The first non rechargeable LIB became commercially available in the early 1970s. They have become dominant as a means of power of storage for mobile electronic devices. Sony first introduced a rechargeable LIB in 1991 to power its CCD TR1 camcorder, and 35 gigawatt hours of lithium ion cells, equivalent to about one third of the world's total output in 2017, comes from Sony. Now, talking about the advantages, lithium is the lightest of all metals. It has the energy density twice of that of the nickel cadmium battery. It is highly low maintenance and low self discharge rate. Now, talking about the disadvantages, rate of technical advancements are just 5% each year, and mostly they are related to improving the capacity of the battery. There is an increasing in design flexibility, which lead to lower energy density and higher costs. Talking about safety, lithium is highly reactive and components are highly flammable. All of this leads to the requirement of protection circuit to control voltages during charge and discharge to monitor cell temperature. Now let us talk about the global lithium market. The decarbonization of the transport sector requires a rapid expansion of global battery production and an adequate supply with raw materials currently produced in small amounts. We are talking about the LIB and the components that are required to make the LIB. Now, strengthening the battery value chain requires a global effort in many sectors of the economy that mainly talks about the strengthening of the production, the manufacturing leg of the LIB, uh, to grow according to the battery demand to avoid bottlenecks along the supply chain. And later on in the presentation, we will be talking about the bottlenecks that the supply chain of the LIB faces. There is significant investment for the establishment production facilities that will be required. The numbers are in front of you. Uh, and the most important thing is that we would be requiring a large global workforce with a specific knowledge and skill. However, the employment and investment required are highly uncertain given the relatively early development stage of the sector, which is undeniable. The continuous advancements in the technology and the wide range of possible future demand.
I am Arushi Seth, and now I'll be starting with the Porter's Five Forces analysis. So, what exactly is Porter's Five Force analysis? It is a model that identifies and analyzes five competitive forces that shape every industry and helps determine an industry's weakness and strength. The five force analysis is frequently used to identify an industry structure to determine corporate strategy. So the five forces that we're going to talk about are the supply power, threat of new entry, buyer power, threat of substitutes, and competitive rivalry. So moving on. Firstly, we'll talk about the threat of new entry. There is threat of new entry because there are increased government incentives, like there are subsidies on EVs given by the government. So due to which there are new entries into this market. Moving on to the next point, focus on shifting to renewable energy. Nowadays, a lot of companies, a lot of markets, and also people in general are moving towards electronic vehicles and sustainable way of living. So that is also another reason why there is a threat of new entrants. Third, there are increased number of patents. Moving on to the second force, that is the rivalry between firms. Firstly, the first reason again is the increased government incentives. Because there are increased government incentives, more more companies are coming up and using these incentives for their own benefits. Secondly, there is more demand of batteries due to increased demand of EVs. Since the petrol prices and diesel prices are going up, people are shifting towards electronic vehicles. So the demand of EVs is rising, and as a result, there is more demand of batteries. Thirdly, more than 140 manufacturing companies for the batteries are there in China. So there is a lot of rivalry between firms over there. The third force we're going to talk about is the threat of substitutes. Many new technologies are being developed and worked upon, but they are still very far from being commercialized and being widely used due to limitations they have. Even if you talk about the EVs, these lithium batteries that we're talking about, they also came after a lot of time, and it took a lot of time for them to be commercialized. So similarly, the new technologies that are being developed and work upon will need a lot of time. Secondly, as no alternative can be seen for a foreseeable future for the lithium ion batteries, we see that the threat from substitutes is low. Moving on to the fourth force is the buyer power. In short term, there are only handful of major players in the market, and they decide on the price and control most of the market share. Secondly, many new companies are being set up though, but those facilities and investment will take time to make a dent in market share. Fifth force going to talk about is the supplier power. The deposits of lithium is concentrated to mainly 4 countries, and the biggest players we have is China, South Korea, Japan, and Canada. Secondly, the price of lithium has increased by almost 150%, and as a result of which, companies are rushing to make a deal to set up facilities in those lithium producing countries.
Hello, my name is Vaishali Sitar, and I will be talking about distribution of bargaining power between the suppliers and the industry. So, after looking at the value chain, we can note that the main players in this lithium-ion battery industry would be first the raw material suppliers, second the lithium-ion battery manufacturers, and third the buyers of the lithium-ion batteries, which are who are mostly the vehicle manufacturers or the automobile industry. So the raw material for the lithium ion batteries is lithium, which is mined in the form of lithium brine. The major lithium producing countries are Australia, Chile, Argentina, and China. The 2017 statistics of amount of lithium brine found in these countries and produced in these countries are stated on the screen. And also, as the industry for lithium is highly concentrated, with the top 5 producers accounting for almost 75% of the production, it becomes very pertinent to have a contingency policy to deal with any supply shocks that may come up. And one probable solution is that regarding one solution could be establishing a good supplier relation with the major producers of lithium. So, majority of the battery makers and automobile manufacturers have established alliances, supply arrangements, and partnerships with these lithium miners and the top 5 producing countries as well. So, backward integration, another solution to handle such problems could be backward navigation, which gives effective remedy to this problem. Thank you.
Intensity of rivalry among the producers due to various factors. During 2012-2016, a slower than expected growth in EV sales worldwide meant that battery manufacturers expanded capacity ahead of demand. The resulting excess capacity caused intense price competition to the point where several battery manufacturers were making losses on the sales of lithium-ion batteries. In 2017-2018, the major lithium-ion battery producers were in a race to add capacity in anticipation of the upsurge in demand from the automakers. While Tesla with its Nevada factory had already taken the lead, most of the new investments came from China due to its ambitious 5-year plan of growing into the EV industry and curbing emissions, which meant that an expansion in the production of lithium-ion batteries was required. In response, Japanese and South Korean manufacturers expanded their production capacities in order to maintain their market positions. These examples show how demand drove industry capacity and competition among the manufacturers. When products are perceived as commodities, choice is often determined by price and service, which then leads to an increased competition in price and service. During 2000 to 2004, the US patent applications for relating to lithium-ion batteries were about 170 annually and rose to 450 annually by 2010-2014. Samsung, Panasonic, Toyota have been among the leading assignees for worldwide patents relating to lithium-ion batteries in 2016. And if product differentiation doesn't happen as expected, then lithium-ion batteries would also become obsolete, as they had once displaced lead-acid, nickel-cadmium, and nickel-metal hydride batteries.
Now let's discuss about the value chain for lithium-ion battery. During 2017 and 2018, there was a rapid rise in the demand for lithium-ion battery, placing a considerable strain on the supply of raw materials and components required for its production. Now, looking on to the raw materials required for lithium-ion battery production, it involves lithium brine, spodumene, cobalt, and graphite. Lithium is present in abundance in the Earth's crust, but its major accumulation is in Australia, Chile, Argentina, and Bolivia. During 2018, there was an increase in price of cobalt to around 260% because of the supply-demand mismatch. The production of cobalt was around 100,000 tons, whereas the estimated demand was around 360,000 tons. The materials processed out of them include lithium carbonate and lithium hydroxide, which are mainly processed in China. The components that are produced involves cathodes, electrodes, and separators, which are majorly produced in China, followed by Japan and South Korea. Now, looking on to the cells, the big three producers involves China, Japan, and South Korea, as with the components. Now, the battery packs are produced in two types, small battery packs and large battery packs. The small battery packs are produced by mobile manufacturers, whereas the large battery packs are produced by auto assemblers. This is the supply chain rank of lithium-ion battery as done in 2020. We can see China is dominating this market, followed by Japan, South Korea, Canada, and the rest follows. Now, coming on to the role of Chinese government in influencing the industry strategy and the profitability. We have seen that China is a major dominant player in the lithium-ion battery industry. Also, Tesla has garnered a lot of publicity with its Nevada Gigafactory, but most of the investment has been made in China. China also has a 13th five-year plan for 2016 and 20 for growing its automobile industry and curbing the emissions. Its major focus is on the development of the EVs. In response, China has also faced a bit of competition in the form of Japan and South Korea, which are expanding their production capabilities in order to maintain their market positions. In addition to the big global players, there are many small manufacturers in China where more than 140 companies produce LIBs or components for them. 8 out of 10 major lithium battery plants under construction at the beginning of 2018 were in China. Value chain for lithium-ion batteries, China is leading at every step of this process. In order to overcome the shortage of lithium, Chinese battery makers and automobile producers are establishing alliance, supply agreements, and partnerships with lithium miners.
Now let's discuss about the future prospects of lithium-ion industry in the upcoming next 5 years. Firstly, the global demand for LIB is expected to be around 280 gigawatts hour by the year 2024, and its uses in EV is expected to grow by 220% in the year 2024 with base year as 2020, and 66% and 200% in personal electronics, home, grid storage respectively. Secondly, the growth of the market is majorly driven by surging requirement for continuous power supply from critical infrastructures, increasing demand for plug in electric vehicles, growing need for battery-operated material handling equipment, and growing adoption of LIBs in renewable energy sector. Third, this massive surge in demand is mainly attributed to growing demand for plug in electric vehicle, which is being adopted globally in order to reduce the carbon footprint and become carbon neutral. Lastly, the technological advancement has further increased the capacity of LIBs in energy density and its efficiency with low cost. Now, the question is, will the industry generate an attractive rate of profit or not? Even though the overall demand and market size of LIB industry is expected to grow at an attractive rate, the profitability will not grow at the desired rate. The historic data shows intense price competition in LIB industry due to excess capacity, which will result in lower sales price of LIBs and will ultimately lead to losses. Slow but steady, technological advancement in manufacturing process and assembling of LIB has reduced the cost of production of LIBs drastically. Still, manufacturers will struggle to generate desired profit due to increased number of manufacturers and dominance in the market by few big market manufacturers. Thank you.